Hey everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to APU live webinar, Industry Career Live webinar. My name is Regine and I'm your host for this session. We have been conducting a series of live webinars since Friday covering different topics such as data science, cybersecurity, AI, engineering, design, fintech, digital marketing, and many more. If you have missed some of this topic, don't worry, check out our Facebook and YouTube channel. I would also like to take this opportunity to invite you to check out our APU e-Open Day. Our counselors are ready to guide you through all the options that are available for your further studies. For more information, please visit our website and follow our Facebook page. For today's session, we will be covering on the topic of psychology, solving the real-life problems. We are going to learn more about psychology and gain greater insight on how it has evolved with the ability to solve real-life problem. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers today. First will be Dr. Joel.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Dr. Joel Yap is our senior lecturer at APU, and our next speaker is Miss Cynthia. She's our lecturer at APU. I would like to pass over to you, Dr. Joel and Miss Cynthia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regine, for the introduction. So without further ado, let me start the presentation for today's presentations. Okay. So I'm so pleased to be invited for this webinar series, and I would like to welcome all of you for today's topic. Cynthia and myself will be talking about how psychology can basically play a role in solving real problems. Okay. So actually, a lot of students or even laymen, they would probably know that psychology is a discipline that they studies about, they study about human mind and human behavior. That's the reason why initially when I studied psychology in my undergraduate, I wanted to pretty much like understand, um, you know, how basically human being, how to study human beings' behaviors and their mind and so on and so forth. So I literally did my study in the UK and then I mastered in the UK as well, followed by I had my PhD in UTM, and so sort of like I have accumulated some sort of like experience in writing journal articles, and also I have started my teaching career since 2013. And essentially I was interested previously, I was interested in looking at how psychology basically can, specifically the positive psychology aspect, how they can basically help individual to develop resilience, which I will talk about it later. And here's my background of my colleague. So she's means Cynthia Shoba, and she's a licensed and registered counselor, and she has been in the counseling industry for 8 years, and she has been working with clients from diverse cultural background and in different settings. So, and she has accumulated years of experience in terms of teaching students in diploma and degree in psychology. Cynthia is also a certified counselor supervisor, and she has obtained the certification from Idaho State University, USA. And like I say, she's a licensed and registered counselor. So today we'll be presenting you the topic how psychology can basically help us to solve some of the real world problems. Okay, so I think one of the what do you call difficulties for people to come across, or maybe they try to, they find it difficult to understand psychology, is because of they don't really have a proper channel for them to get to know the discipline. Um, that's why I would like to start with the definition for what you know about psychology and what psychology is all about. So I'll present to you the definition of psychology. So as you can see from the British Psychological Society, psychology is defined as the scientific study of of people and the mind and behavior. So literally, like I say, the gist of psychology is to use scientific way of studies to literally understand about human mind, human behavior. When we go through myself and Miss Cynthia, when we go through the slide, we will be sharing with the students and with the audience today on how essentially psychology can be considered as a scientific discipline. So first of all, we want to show you guys how psychology can basically solve some of the real world problems, right? So one of which is we know that actually because of COVID-19, and I think it's realistic to say that nowadays, because of the COVID-19 situations, right, most of the individuals like you and myself, we are actually being asked to stay at home. So um, previously, because we have the opportunities and we have the right to have some sort of like outdoor entertainment, and because of that we don't really feel that the world is changing. But now, especially when internet becomes the main medium, I would say, then that's why you tend to see that more and more this kind of especially e-sport industries, right? They have been developed in a very rapid what do you call pace, in the sense that especially now that some of us, right, especially if you are playing the games, that now this industry is really growing, and in the next couple of years, right, you tend to see there's a need. So psychology and esport, there's a relationship in between these two. And I believe that some of you today, you also know about the certain games, especially like PUBG, and as well as the what do you call like Dota 2. So one of the issues that people realize, actually, when you are spending so much time in terms of expose yourself to uh, this kind of esports, right, or maybe like PUBG specifically, it could potentially predispose you to a situation whereby you find yourself addicted in certain kind of like PUBG would be the best example. Maybe you yourself or you have friends, they have been playing these kind of games, and but maybe you yourself, you are okay with that, but sometimes come across with things like people been spending so much time because now everyone is staying at home because in Malaysia we have the national lockdown, so that a lot of people they have seems like they have more time, especially young children and this adolescents. So they might choose to engage in certain sort of like e-sport or games like that. So in this case, what you can see from here, uh, some of the studies, emergent research, they have found basically individuals, if they have been spending so much time in terms of this kind of like, say for instance, in this case would be PUBG, this would pretty much like create some sort of like problem. In this case, you can see this is a study done by a group of researchers. What they did was basically they look at the relationship between the exposure to games like PUBG, and how basically this can be used exposure to PUBG and the relationship with psychological disorders. So that's why I have to mention to you this one, because nowadays everyone we know that COVID-19, previously we have the COVID-19 situation, now everyone literally is talking about post COVID-19. So literally if you observe enough, most of these situations in places like you can see that people normally they tend to spend more time with computers or even their smartphone, this kind of digital advisors and all this. So in this case, they might have higher chances of getting certain problems, like I mentioned earlier on. That would be like addiction to the PUBG games and all this. But of course, if some of you here today, you know that you ever come across with games like Dota 2, this is a very famous game. Same to I mean, it's almost the same like what you know about the PUBG. We know that a lot of students also know that because now we are spending more time in terms of engaging ourselves in terms of playing games and all these things. So if you look at the previous slide I mentioned to you guys just now, you would see that psychology can be used to explain about the addictive behaviors. So if you look at this one, Dota 2 as well, but this is not so much about addictive behavior. This is more about like what do you call a famous psychologist. So actually, this guy he actually helped the Dota 2 company to look at the competitive what do you call gaming behaviors of these individuals. So that's a role of psychologists when it comes to studying and understanding individuals' behavior, specifically when they look at the differences between ordinary players and these competitive gamers. So you can see that's the reason why, because there's a growing need. That's why we say when we solve a real world problem, right, we have to look at whether there's a need or not, because now our society is so called ever, it's pretty much ever changing. So literally every day what you are seeing and what you are hearing and what you are perceiving and feelings and all this, actually they are ever changing. So there's a role of psychology in terms of understanding this kind of changes within the individual. So again, if we talk about the addictive behaviors, right, which more like addictions and all this, you would say that is that the only one? Is that the only area that psychology can focus or venture into if you want to become a psychology expert, right? Not necessarily, because if you look at some of the studies, and even you just simply do a simple Google search, right, you can see that there are many um, what you call aspect that psychologists I mean they can venture into, one of which is the mental health. When we talk about mental health, the first thing that come to your mind, I don't know, I would suspect that is like, that people been talking about like counselors and clinical psychologists. So what I would like to present to you here is the abnormal and clinical psychology. So we all know that nowadays our lifestyle is different compared to many years ago, even like our previous generations, like those your parents and all this. So nowadays, if you ever notice that some individuals when they dying, right, they would like to take a photo of their food, and before they actually eat their food. So this has become one of the growing trends, I would say. If you ever observe this, I don't know whether you ever come across with this or not, but studies have found that this could be become one of the psychological concerns in one of the in perhaps in a couple of years. So they might individuals they we as a I mean people like expert in psychologists or even clinical psychologists and psychiatrists, right? They have already put a remark to say that because of the ever changing society and human behaviors and all this thing, that's why uh, they have to always revise the diagnostic manual from time to time to look at what are the emerging psychological disorders or concerns. So the thing that I want to share with all the audience today would be like eating disorders. As we probably know that sometimes if you've been like you let's say been not having food for for a couple of days, I don't know, and then the first sight that you see food is like you so so desperate you want to eat something, and at the same time this could be someone like the person maybe is not really feeling like don't really have the appetite to really eat something because of maybe the person want to put down uh, you know because want to maintain a certain body image and all this thing. So if you look at what studies have been done in the past, you would see that actually all these things can be related to body image. So individuals with normally with some of the eating concerns, eating disorders, or eating behaviors problems, right? They would normally have a low self-esteem. So they would normally see themselves. Uh, uh, as a matter of fact, actually, they are really if you look at the weight is like underweight, but they will always look at themselves like they are being really overweight, and that could be one of the uh, things that is happening nowadays. That's why psychologists, or if you can call them like psychology experts, normally they can they can contribute to fields like mental health, especially you can always venture and you can always try to see whether, I mean, depends on your what would be your postgraduate training. If you are postgraduate training, if you focus on like specifically on eating disorders and all these things, perhaps when you actually when you're actually practicing, right, actually you have more the relevant knowledge and skills to help individuals with those kind of problems like eating problem, problems with eating concerns and all this. Okay, so I have touched on things like the e-sport and psychology, and I also touch on things like eating disorders and psychology. But again, this is a slide for you to know that actually um, we are aware of what is going on. Especially we know that now most probably you have heard people say that IL 4.0. So this is some everyone literally talk about this IL 4.0. Basically stands for industrial revolutions. When we come to talk about this, normally people would say certain discipline they will be uh, what do you call replaced by AI and all this. Um, to be honest with you, psychology is one of the disciplines that can never always, consider be the one that is to be compromised or sacrificed by this or replaced by IL 4.0 because of if you pay attention to most of these disciplines that or industries that we are having, actually we are still dealing with human beings. Uh, is near to impossible to say that there's a discipline for you to never, to only have the AI kind of stuff. Human touch is always have to be there. So and that's the reason psychology can never be replaced. If you look at that that way, and here this is just a fact to show you guys that actually, according to our Sabah Minister of Education, he say that actually this we need to we need to take care of our mental health because without a good mental health, because normally we talk about physical health, right? um, but to be honest with you, psychological well-being or even mental health is equal is considered important as well compared to your physical health. That's why we kind of we say that we have to sacrifice this kind of our health, so that we can get the things we want, because our mental health is always the key, right? So that's all from my part. Maybe I'll pass to Cynthia for you to cover this one.
Thank you, Dr. Joel, for the very informative and very interesting explanation, especially the part how you related to the Dota games. Okay, a very good afternoon to everybody. So I'll be talking about the uniqueness of APU psychology program. Okay, as you can see on the screen here, our degree is a unique degree. Why is it a unique degree, you might be asking? Okay, it's a blend of both conventional psychology with technology elements, as we are known for our technology, our wonderful technology. We have infused it in our psychology program. So at the same time, you guys will also be able to sharpen on your technology skills and also how to apply it in terms of psychology context. Next, it's understanding psychology and the concepts in contemporary environment. How are you going to apply it to your day to day? Okay, it's not only everything from textbook, but what you get out of here is you will also learn how to use it in your day to day life, how to apply it. Sometimes we study many things, but then when it comes to application, we tend to get stuck. So the unique thing about our degree program is we will take you through on how to apply it. So there will be case studies, real life situations, and students will be given hands on real life situations and case studies to put their knowledge and application skills in, so that before they graduate, they will be able to apply it. Next will be the clear apprehension of the human mind, behavior, and different types of personality. You will be exposed to behaviors, you will learn about different types of personalities, and you will be able to understand those personalities. And when you move around with your friends, your family members and all, you will be able to identify those personalities. So in another way, it will give you an upper hand of understanding people with this degree. And lastly, it's a dual degree with De Montfort University. So you will also get the feel of the foreign education also. So yes, next let's look at psychology modules offered in this degree. So basically, as you can look at the screen here, how our program has been structured. We started off with the basic, which is the introduction, and then into the developmental, where you will learn about human development. Your first stage into psychology is to understand about yourself, your life, how you have developed across stages. And then we'll take you into the ethics of it, in terms of if you want to do research, what are the ethics, what you can do, what you cannot do, what are you supposed to be abiding by. And then we'll go into the history. Everything has a history. As humans, we all have our histories. So do subjects. How did it evolve first? Where did it come from? Did it just drop from the sky, or did someone just bring about to it? And then we will learn about how to move with people, how to understand people in terms of society. And then we will go into the psychological disorders, like what Dr. Joel has mentioned earlier, and how he has related it to games. And then a bit on biological psychology. So there'll be a bit of bio inside for you to be understanding how your body works in terms with your mind. And then you guys will be taken into research. And basically, after that, you come to the next level, which will be a bit difficult but interesting because you have already covered the basics of it first. So as you go in depth, you can also see towards the end we have our elective models, and one of it will be cyber psychology, which is very interesting. It's like, how are you going to infuse the cyber world with psychology? How are you going to understand the mind of a cyber bully? How are you going to understand the person behind the computer screen without a face and without identity? So yes, so you can see here that the modules are lined up very interestingly. As each stage we go, we have each new things to discover and each exciting thing to learn for us to take in our degree program. So next, let me take you to the life cycle of a human. Why did I put this picture here? As you can see here, it starts from a baby till the end, till we all go 6 feet underground. So, how many of us actually stop and actually think about our life at each stage and look back and reflect and analyze? It'll be maybe a handful of us, or maybe none of us actually do. We go through stages by stages in our life. We grow in terms of our physical, we grow in terms of our experience, we grow in terms of our knowledge, we learn in terms of how to manage our emotions, but we don't actually look back, reflect, analyze, think before we move forward to the next stage. So when you embark on this degree course, you guys will actually be taught to look back and to actually to analyze and to reflect at each certain stage. What makes it more exciting, there will be theories infused in it, different theories that you can actually use and relate to. So in a way, not only does the degree program help you in terms of knowledge, it also help you in terms of your self development, of you understanding yourself better as a person. And then we look at the challenges that we face, day to day challenges that we face as a human. What challenges do we face from child to the end? So, our next slide will talk about all the challenges that we actually face day to day along the way. This can be a one time challenge, it can be a recurring challenge, it can be something that only comes in certain stages. But I'm sure that every stage of our life, we do experience each one of these relationship challenges. From the time we start moving with people, as young as we start going to nursery, going to kindergarten, we start to learn to form relationships, regardless of friendship, romantic relationship, intimate relationships. We do struggle along the way in terms of our relationships. But then, when we embark on this degree, we will learn how to manage it. We will learn ways to deal with it. We will learn healthy coping behaviors. Next, stress. So, how do we manage stress? We all experience stress. If someone were to come and tell you, I've never experienced stress in my life, that is something really absurd. Stress doesn't mean that your stress needs to be really big. A small thing which makes you tensed up is already considered stress. For example, misplacing a book, and when you are frantically looking for it, that is also considered stress because you're stressed up. You misplaced an important book. So, yeah, so stress comes in different forms. And how do we deal with stress? And there are different types of stress. So, you guys will also learn about that, different types of stress. You all be wondering, I didn't know there was different type of stress. I thought stress was just stress. No, there are different types of stress that you will come across, and you will learn about it. Next, mental health, which is the most important thing for a person, which is the key. If your mental health is not taken care of, it will be very difficult for you to focus in the other areas of your life. For example, if you are going through a certain mental health issue, that will affect you in your academic, in your social, and in your health. So, yeah, so how do we take care of our mental health? What do we do when we are facing mental health issues? What are the things which can trigger our mental health issues? All these things will be taught to you guys, and also how you can apply certain situations to daily life. And next, social. We all face social problems. We all need to socialize. Even minimum socialization, there is a form of socialization in our life. And how do we socialize with people? Is there a right way to socialize? Each of us socialize with people in a different way. So you will also be taught on that. So you see, not only do we cover theories, but we cover everyday challenges that we face along in our degree program. So now you may ask me, how does psychology help? So our next slide will talk about how does psychology help us? Okay, how does this degree help us? First, we will be able to cope better in a way that we will learn positive coping mechanism instead of resulting to something which is drastic, like drugs, like alcohol, like even resorting to suicide. So when we learn about psychology, when we understand what is psychology, when we go through different areas in psychology, we will have the tools in our hand to use it in our daily life. We are able to understand ourselves better and people around us. So before this, we found it difficult to move. I mean, to understand our friends. Why do they behave this way? Why do they treat me this way? Why does my partner behave this way? Why does my family member behave this way? But after going through this course, you will be able to understand, okay, why this particular person does like this. We'll be able to analyze the behavior and we'll be able to look back, think, and reflect before we make our decision instead of emotionally reacting. And lastly, we will know when to seek help for our mental health issues from professionals. And we will know it's okay to seek help. It's not wrong to go and see a counselor. It's not wrong to talk about your problems to a professional. It's okay. And we are doing it to look after our mental health. If our mental health is taken care, our whole life is better. And we will have a good well-being in terms of for us to be a productive and a happy human being. So as you can see, this whole degree actually gives you like one full package on not only understanding yourself, but also gaining the knowledge and the way to be in the society, to move with people, and to understand people. So that's all from my end. I will now pass to Miss Regine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the sharing, Dr. Joa and Miss Cynthia. It was very interesting. Now it's time for our Q&A session, right? Everyone, please feel free to drop your questions in the comment section here and we will address them accordingly. Okay, while waiting for, students or anyone to leave your questions here, I would like to ask Dr. Joel, most of the time, we receive some questions from our students and parents. They are asking about the career prospects in terms of psychology. Would you like to share with us about this?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Regine. Well, I would say this would be one of the questions which I have heard from my students as well, because they've been always asking me like, sir, what I can do after I graduate from the course. And I normally explain to students, it all depends on, first of all, of course, psychology, you got the opportunity to work with, I would say, in different disciplines, because in most of disciplines that we ever come across, right? It all depends on, the natures of the organization. But most of the disciplines, they have to deal with human being, human touch, and all this. So, say for instance, if you say about like one of the student, he ever say he wants to work with like people, and he say he doesn't mind to work in a big company. So yeah, and I mentioned to the student actually he can try to look for like HR related careers and all these things, because psychology normally the student will learn how to deal with human being in terms of learning all the human motivations and personality and all these things. So that's one. And of course, if you want to go for mental health, you can always try to apply for some of the. I always advise the student to go for NGO first and to gain some experience, because if you want to work in mental health setting, you would have to have postgraduate training. Uh, Example would be like clinical psychology. So you need to have a master in clinical psychology, but of course you comes with the training hours. So that is when, for someone who is interested in clinical setting, or you can always look for things like motivations related career, say for instance becoming a motivational speaker. And at the same time you can always think about academia. Student can always think about like becoming a tutor, teacher assistant, or even when they have done their postgraduate training as well, they can also work in like university and colleges. So yeah, I mean, if you really ask me to list out all the prospect, right, there's a lot. So it all depends on, like I said, it all depends on your interest. But psychology opens the door for you to be prepared for the future.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Joel. We have one question here. Let me show from Sajid. What is the difference between hypnotherapists, psychologists, and psychotherapists in terms of their method of diagnosis and helping someone with a mental illness?
Sin, you want to go for this one?
Can. Okay. Basically, hypnotherapy it's a different certification. Okay, it falls under the umbrella of psychology, but it's a different set of skills. Hypnotherapy is basically you go for a special course, you learn how to hypnotize the person in terms of get into their mind, the unconscious mind. You work with the unconscious mind. Okay, psychologists depends because each country they term it as different. Sometimes a person who have done clinical psychologist is also called a psychologist. Okay, like for myself, I'm a counselor. We don't call ourselves psychologists. Okay, but in certain countries they may use that term. So, and the background is different. So for psychologists, basically when you say a person is psychologist, they most probably their qualification would be masters in clinical psychologist. Okay, to what I know. Yeah, so that's what it'll be. Or sometimes it can also be developmental psychology. So they would have done a master's in developmental psychology. So different country they use the callings different. Psychotherapy is basically someone who has done in terms of down the counseling road, but their focus is more on psychotherapy. So it's more on like Sigmund Freud's kind of uh, therapy, those psychoanalytic therapy. Basically they use those kind of things, so they term as psychotherapists. Okay, so their method of diagnosis is different. So hypnotherapy is basically, like I mentioned earlier, they use hypnotization, but they have learned special sets of skills. If a psychologist or a psychotherapist isn't trained in hypnotherapy, they cannot perform it. Okay, you need to have the proper qualification for that. Okay, Dr. Joel, do you want to add on anything?
Yeah, I think very good explanation from Cynthia. Actually, that basically covers the gist of the differences between you mentioned like hypnotherapists, psychologists, and psychotherapists. And I noticed that Sajid mentioned psychiatric. I'm not
Psychiatry.
so I'm not so sure about which question that you're referring to. So I think should I just go for this? Yeah, can psychologists prescribe medicines? All right. So I think this is a common misunderstanding that you can see among people. Because we do know that this kind of question will come to us because layman speaking, because normally when you go and see psychology, normally you call the person doctor, right? So if you ask a layman, definitely the understanding about doctor is the person can prescribe medicines. But to be honest with you, a psychologist uh, is not able to prescribe medicine. Only a psychiatrist is able to prescribe medicine. Just for information, because normally a psychiatrist he has to basically go through a degree in medicines. So it's like an MBBS. So have to go through a certain 5 years of trainings in medicine, so that only then when it comes to after he completed medicines, right, then he can venture into the area like psychology, or psychotherapies and all this, so that become the psychiatrist, right? So there's a difference between even a clinical psychology and a psychiatrist, right? Because a psychiatrist can prescribe medicine, clinical psychologists can never prescribe medicines. They can do diagnosis and assessment. So I hope my answer has basically answered your questions, Sajid. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Joel. Okay, let's see if we still have any more questions. I think so far that's the question that we have. Is there anything, Dr. Joy and Miss Cynthia, you would like to add on before we end this session?
Maybe Cynthia, you want to go first?
Okay, so basically why I would recommend APU, guys, okay, not because I'm working here, yeah, it's a great place, but the thing is, as you know, our course is still new in APU, and we have a small classroom, and the relationship between the lecturer and the students is actually quite good in terms of, like, we are able to give you attention in terms of personal attention. If you don't understand, it's a small class, you have students from different cultural backgrounds, and you can learn a lot in terms of it. Okay, so it'll be easier for you to focus, it's easier for you to ask questions, and at the same time it's easier for you to grow your knowledge. So when you have classmates from different cultural backgrounds, you also can see where they come from and how psychology can apply in different cultures. So you will have the plus point of an exposure of knowing about psychology and how to apply it in different cultural backgrounds. So that's my take for you guys lah.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Cynthia.
I do have something to say. If you look at other maybe students or even if you're looking for places to do your psychology degree, right? Of course, one of the advantages, like what Miss Cynthia mentioned just now, because we are literally new, so students really have our whole attention, the lectures attention and all this thing. And our teaching style is a bit different because we, unlike other places, at least for me, I would always start the session with the students to try to identify and discover their interests, because I think it's really important, because once we were students before, so we know that actually typically in Malaysia or Asian students or even other places students, they would just go for the degree without knowing that actually what they really want and what they really enjoy. So we because we came across with this issue or situation before. So when it comes to classes, right, we normally start the class with explain identifying the student interest, in terms of helping them to get to know what they really want to do. If, say for instance, I have students, they say that before they join our program, they wanted to do like graphic design and all this thing. So at least we know that actually they have some sort of like personal interest in terms of graphic and all these things. So we can always find a way to really link graphic design and psychology. Again, here, because we are literally very new and you have our attention, so we have plenty of time to communicate with our students to help them in terms of knowing the program, psychology program, and help them to become a better person. So that's my take lah, Regine.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joel. Now it's time for us to wrap up our session today. We are so grateful for your time, and I hope that you find this session interesting and informative. Our counselors are also here to guide you through, and if you have any questions about the program, just feel free to reach us out. And our e-open day is currently still happening, and go to our website to submit your appointment with us, and our counselors will contact you. We are gonna have the next session with the topic of ecosystem of creative industry, animation, VFX, industrial design, and digital advertising at 5 p.m. Stay tuned and follow our Facebook page for more updates. Thanks everyone for joining us live today. Thank you once again. Thanks again, Dr. Joel and Miss Cynthia.
Thank you, Regine. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.